Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Modern Priestess meetings. I am Katie Burke, your host for this evening. Please feel free to, hello, I'm just seeing the chat box. Hello. Yes, please feel free to introduce yourself. I see that we have some people registered this week who were not registered last week. So very happy and grateful to see everyone here. We're doing something a little different tonight, and I'm going to get to that. I was guided very last minute this morning to make a change and add something to the beginning of our meeting, which is behind me. But first, I'd like to just welcome all of you here and explain how these meetings work. So if you're new to my work, welcome. My name again is Katie Burke, B-U-R-K-E, and I am a modern priestess and the creator of the Modern Priestess movement, which I'll talk about in a moment, as well as the founder of the Modern Priestess Mystery School. So in these Modern Priestess meetings, we are covering a wide range of topics that are all related to the divine feminine consciousness awakening that is happening now. So if you'd like to ask a question, I would encourage you to do so, but please do that below the video streaming. There's a section for questions and topics, and I will do my best to keep an eye on that because I want to keep the chat box for you guys to get to know each other and chat about the conversation. So if you do have questions, I will be keeping an eye on the questions and topics tab. I'm not going to promise that we'll get to all of them. At the end of last week's meeting, we had quite a lot of questions that came in at the end, which was awesome. And we were able to, there was time to get to all of them. But the sooner you want to ask a question, probably the better. And then if you are watching the replay on YouTube, feel free to leave a question in the comment. I do take a look at those as well as the comments. So you never know, those could turn into their own Modern Priestess meeting topic. So, okay, the Modern Priestess movement is very much, its commission is to provide modern spiritual activists with the resources they need to be leading and participating in the revolutionary of the divine feminine awakening on the planet. It's really that simple. We started with the Modern Priestess Conversations last year, and this year I've been guided to host these weekly meetings just like this one to provide counsel on this current shift and really this really big year that we're having in 2017, which leads me to this chart behind me. I usually have a beautiful altar set up, and this week we're doing something a little bit different. So this morning, I woke up and I knew it was Monday, time to commune with all of you in these Modern Priestess meetings, and I was guided very clearly to get this chart, which I have in my office to make notes on all the time, and write out the different, pretty much the evolution of the soul's journey. So this is not my work. This is the work of, I think it comes originally from the Law of One. And then I went to a workshop with Bentino Massaro, who is the author of the book Super Accelerated Living. And I have found this chart to just be really helpful to refer back to from time and time again. And after I started to look into our theme of going through alchemizing difficult feelings, this offers such a nice zoomed out look at our soul's journey, which can make what the content that I've prepared for this evening a bit easier to digest when we have this perspective. So, and it looks like, just one moment, I just want to check on our, Katie, hi Katie, Brandy, so many wonderful women here. Okay, looks like I had a bit of a problem with, I was going to try to do just this part on Facebook Live, but it's not going to work out. That's okay. So what was I going to say? The chart, the soul's evolution. So again, this is from the Law of One, and I have not personally taught on this subject before, but it's something that I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on, and some of you, this may be reviewed, so please feel free in the comments if you've never seen this chart or this process before, this evolution, fantastic. It's wonderful foundational information, but if it's something that you're really well aware of, I would love for you to provide your feedback in the comments as we move along. Okay, so again, this originates from the Law of One, which came out in like the 80s. And this is a very simplified version of this. We could do hours going through this chart, but I just wanted to give a nice overview of the different densities of evolution. So I'm gonna try, yeah, let's see if my mic will move with me. So what we have here, I don't know if my microphone's long enough to get as far as I want. So what we have here, starting at the bottom, we have first density, then moving our way up to second density, third density, fourth density, fifth density, sixth density, and seventh density. So that is what we have broken out here. And first density, we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Now, just so you guys know, we are making the shift from third to fourth, and in my opinion, have already shifted to fourth. I would love to actually hear what you guys think about that, if we've completely shifted into just the beginning stages of fourth density, but I feel like we've gone there. But let me explain what they are, I guess, before we get into that too much. Now, each of these densities, as you work your way up, as your soul's journey is working its way up, the frequency, the amount of light that can be contained into your every cell, into your every particle, it actually increases the amount of light that is held. So the higher we go up this, the more light beings we become. So in these physical bodies, we feel sometimes like a little bit dense. And some of you, well, I know a lot of you actually, I can see the women who are commenting here, what sometimes can be called like a star seed or a wanderer is a soul, hello, who is actually like up in these higher realms, and then decides that that soul, hello, would like the experience of a physical reality for our soul's learning. So we come down here and to planet Earth, to the masterclass of planet Earth, to begin our journey of learning. In a nutshell, that's what a wanderer or a starseed, not exactly what a starseed is, but definitely what a wanderer. And I'm gonna jump over. Fourth density is resonant with the Pleiades as well. That's interesting. I've been working a little bit more with that energy this year, and it's been really fun. So, okay, cool. So let's start at first density. What is first density? That's like our rocks, our minerals, the essence of beingness. I'm not sure how well you guys are able to read this screen, but this density is beingness. Second density, we have our plant and flora life. So, and the theme of second density is growth. Now, third density, which we are very much, many of us are still in. Right now, I believe my experience is that we can play in both third and fourth density. We can actually kind of jump, and actually we can play in much higher densities, just maybe not quite as often as you would jump up into that fourth density. So third density is self-awareness. That is the goal. And a lot of times, actually, some of the pets who are probably drawn to a lot of the people in this call, a lot of those pets are probably like right on the precipice of like achieving their self-awareness, and they're matched themselves with you so that they can kind of give themselves that accelerated learning of being with such a high vibrational being such as you. So we attract pets who are kind of ready for that leap and ready to in their next journey. They're kind of at the end of their incarnations, in those like plant and animal second density stages, and they're ready to incarnate as a human possibly. So that's kind of fun. What else? Okay, so self-awareness is the task at hand in third density. And the way that I understand it, when you move into fourth, you have a choice to be, your soul's journey will explore service to self or service to others. So so there's a choice to be made. So there's a lot of souls on the planet right now who are either or. You're either service to self or service to others. Doesn't make I really try my best in these teaching that there's no right or wrong. It's just part of the journey. So a being who is very service to self, we might not quite understand their journey. Like it maybe wouldn't make sense to a being who is service to others, here to explore service to others. Now, the planet benefits from service to other beings a bit more, in my opinion, being stewards of the earth. And yeah, so there's a split, a change, or a decision to be made when you move up to fourth density. Okay, so I said you can kind of see there's like a little dot, and where you say there's a choice that needs to be made when you kind of make that shift up. And right now, again, it's an interesting time on the planet because we're ascending into these higher densities. So so the people who are very much still both feet very much planted in third density and still need to work out their self-awareness issues they're having I would say a difficult time on the planet right now, because this fourth density, the love and understanding, is not, they haven't really evolved there yet, and that's fine. But that's just how it is right now. That's the current climate that we're all feeling. Then above fourth density, we have fifth density, sixth density, and seventh density, which is okay. So again, fourth is love and understanding. Fifth is light and wisdom. And then we have the combination, the perfect balance of the two in sixth density. Now, sixth density is where our higher self resides. That connection to your I am presence is up in that sixth density. Many of the ascended masters that I work with and speak with are in that plane. So, and even higher. And then there's seventh density. And then this, as far as like my work as a student and what I have learned, it kind of stops here. But there are densities that are even higher than this, and beings that have experience in those other realms. I don't personally understand what their relationship is to helping third density beings. So if you do know, I would love to know in the comments what your theories are on that. So I'm trying to think what else there is. I have a few notes about this. And again, if you want a full lesson in this, I would check out the Law of One material is quite dense, pun intended. Bentino Massaro is a teacher of mine and the author, again, of Super Accelerated Living, and I did a workshop with him in December, which was really incredible. And he has YouTube videos where he goes into this in a lot of depth. I'll post all of that information in tomorrow's recap email with the replay. So you can check out that and go even deeper in this if you want to. But I felt really guided to share this information, to give us a kind of just zoom out for a minute. It's been a really intense day as far as navigating a lot of really dense, and when I say dense, I mean these like not high vibrational energies. There's a lot of density right now if you're keeping up with the current events. So I'm just trying to, let me just check in and see if there's anything else I'd like to share about that chart behind me. I learned a lot after last week's meeting, and one thing being that it's very important that we stay very much in a feminine flow for these meetings and very much open to anything else that wants to come through while we're meeting. And last week, Mary Magdalene showed up so strongly with a beautiful heart activation. And what was the book called? The Law of One. You can find it for free online. You can download the PDF for free. And again, it is kind of dense, so I would recommend actually looking at the work of Bentino Massaro. Did I pull up his website before we began? Because it would actually be great just to, here's his name. I'll just throw him in the comments so you guys can look him up. I am a fan of his work. So, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover there. So we can move on to the topic of today's class. And let's see. Yes, the raw material. That's what I'm referencing, Brandy. Yeah, the raw family. Okay. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and move to the topic as promised today, and that is alchemizing difficult feelings. There's quite a lot to say. So, and this is moving through, not around difficult situations. I also, before we get started, want to just take a moment and honor our brothers and sisters of the Islam traditions. All religious traditions are welcome. All backgrounds in religions, all belief systems are very, very much welcome to my work. I'm not, I don't personally stick to any sort of organized religion, but I feel much more comfortable in a more self-initiated journey. And I'm just really feeling how traumatic a day it has been for many of our brothers and sisters in those traditions. So, so it's been a day of a lot of difficult feelings. And to move the energy of the current difficult feelings. And let's remember, this is a self-initiated job. This is moving the energy of the experience we are having on our soul's journey. It takes quite, and I'll talk about this, we'll talk about it in a bit. So the first step, I believe, in alchemizing our difficult feelings that we're having is really starts with asking ourselves the right questions. And that can be as simple as asking yourself how you feel about that. What do you need right now? How will you start to feel better soon? And the Archangel Jeremiel steps forward this week to be of assistance. He has a really balanced energy. He's a good guide when you're in a space of darkness. He's not too enthusiastic. He's not too bubbly. He's just, not that there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes I love a more bubbly guide, but he's just a really honest and nourishing, compassionate being to have a conversation with. He's very much like a calm, wiser, older man, and he is he's the Scorpio angel. I didn't know that. I have not worked with this angel until this week. He very much stepped forward and wanted to be part of this meeting, and I had to look him up. I didn't know who he was. So his comforting phrase I found is that all is well. All is well. And he's the archangel that meets us after we're done with one incarnation. And you know, we're at that day where we get to reflect back on this incarnation, on this journey, and what was accomplished while we were here. But what's beautiful is that we can call on him to do a life review, to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture and do this, what I'm calling a life review. Came up very much as I was researching him, and that's his specialty. And really overcoming difficulties and difficult times is something that that he's very, very helpful with. So this flow through difficult times, difficult emotions, it's very much in the same vein of the alchemic teachings in the mystery schools. So to be an alchemist is to take one frequency and change it to another. So we talked about frequency a little bit in this chart behind me. You can see those squiggly lines, the frequency of different light rays, the frequency of different feelings. Every feeling holds a different harmonic, a different frequency. I love that. So an alchemist's job is to take one thing, transform it into another, and quickly at that we become, you know, a master alchemist is able to do these things at what we would view as miraculous speeds. So over this last week, I was processing something very traumatic that happened to me a few weeks ago, and I decided to take that process and really kind of lay it out for all of you who are attending this meeting. So, and I just want to say, I was working with something very traumatic, and it was very challenging me. It took a lot of faith and a lot of discipline. I had to sit in a place of feeling really uncomfortable at times and not distract myself, which we will talk about later. But it really took a lot of discipline for me to sit and write the guidance that was coming through, because there was part of my ego didn't even want to hear it, didn't want to listen, wanted to just steep in my negativity and my pain. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to transfuse that and keep that and move that energy, transform it, and move on to the next thing. So I'm going to give a short excerpt of an alchemic conversation, how this can happen within yourself. Now, again, this is just me with my guidance. But I came to a place and I said, I surrender and I'm ready to receive guidance. And I just sat. And I've been saying in this place of receiving, the way that I like to receive is with my palms up when I'm in this place of trying to have these conversations. So I was sitting there with my palms up and ready to receive. And what came through is, you must remember, and this was before this came through. So this all ties together really nicely for today's meeting, I think. I'm really happy with how this is all kind of coming together. So the guidance was, you must remember, planet Earth is a school of the highest learning. And this particular lifetime, for all of us, this particular lifetime is filled with much learning and expanding. These experiences are here to teach you, which was something, I already know that, but it wasn't something I was really feeling. So I sat with that and wasn't completely satisfied with that. So, and notice when you're really, really in the darkness, sometimes these responses can feel a bit like inner child work. So my response is like, yeah, I know, but it feels like, and that was fine. I just went with that. So it feels like I'm being reminded of this because of how painful that process is. So it's okay for your inner child to kind of lead these conversations. If it feels like you're whining, or if it feels like you're pouting a little bit, that's great. Just be really honest with yourself. It's okay to be overwhelmed with the darkness of your own healing and of the healing of collective consciousness, the healing that collective consciousness is going through right now. It's okay to feel overwhelmed by that. It's okay to have all of your feelings about that. We are literally light in human form. So when we're looking at the world around us and it feels so different from what's at the core of our heart, it can feel a bit like you feel like you're kind of crazy a little bit. But so I continued on with my inner child, with my innocence, kind of asking questions back and forth. And I'm not going to speak to my responses, but I listed out the questions that was coming through from my higher guidance and what that sounded like, because I thought that could be kind of helpful. So a lot of the questions, as I was trying to take this really traumatic situation and change it, the questions that came through were, can you detach yourself from the experience to see it in another way? Can you value your life enough to forgive yourself? Can you value your destiny or your dharma enough to forgive yourself? Can you recognize that pushing yourself is not coming from your highest guidance? Can you alchemize betrayal into peace? And there was no pressure to do this. It was just simply questions. Can you alchemize selfishness to innocence and even a playful curiosity? Can you see how you are now equipped to speak as a master of overcoming a victimhood mentality? So my response after enough of those questions coming through was, okay, I think I can do that. I think I can start with some of that. And this is how it starts to become a self-initiated modern priestess. It's having the courage to continue to sit and receive the right questions for yourself when you're really in those difficult moments. And sometimes this process of receiving the questions and answering, it can feel a lot like inner child work or soul retrieval. And because, it's through that darkness is how we focus on the light and how we can see the light. And it's through those vulnerable answers that you can move the conversation along. You move into a different frequency, a different way of being. And I was reminded by, as I was preparing for this meeting, very much reminded by Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, that in those dark moments that it's good to throw ourselves into meditative tasks. It's good to throw ourselves into, she was like, clean the house, do the laundry. After a certain amount of time of sitting with your journal, you kind of feel a moment of, I'm either complete or I don't, or I'm not going any further. And that's great. And then it was kind of at that moment where then the guidance said, okay, that's enough of that for now. Get up and use your body and move some energy in your home, move some energy with this three-dimensional reality, move some energy there physically. So doing things like, even like deep cleaning the floors is like amazing energy work for your space, or building an altar, preparing for a ceremony that you're going to have for yourself once you start to feel a little bit better. And for me, it was very much like moving firewood, doing things that are very physical, going to a more advanced yoga class can be really, really helpful. Buying and being grateful for all of the beautiful groceries that we have available to us. And staying really present in our physical bodies as we're doing a lot of this. So these simple tasks, they help us make sure we're not, the reminding message that was coming through with this as well is that it helps us not get too addicted to things that are very convenient, things that are very much like these easy buttons that we have. whether that's in social media or whatever it is, just really getting kind of sucked into this world of convenience. And a lot of the ascended masters that I mention in these meetings, and that I know a lot of you are working with, they very much they did this work on a daily basis. It was very much a ritual, working in the garden, working with the children, playing with the children. It's all very much a part of being a priestess, is being very grounded in our and making our tasks very much ritualized and full of things that fill us up while we do it. So having a really loving attitude when we do, so singing songs with my daughter as we're cleaning or whatever it is, just keeping a lot of that energy moving and not getting too stagnant. So let's see, I've kind of moved away from my notes quite a bit, but I wanted to get these in. So yeah, okay. And so the other reminder is that I would imagine some of the difficult feelings, if not many of the difficult feelings that are coming to many of us, is because of so much of the technology that we have access to. Now, it's a beautiful thing. We're connecting here in this meeting. I love connecting with you on whether it was Instagram or other social media outlets. That's all really, really wonderful. But I need to set a limit to it now to keep myself balanced. So yeah, I feel like a lot of you already know that, but just a gentle reminder that there's no obligation to be on any of those screens at all. So make sure that there is a balance of making sure that it feels good for you and that it feels nourishing for you. If it feels nourishing for you to stay really informed right now, more power to you. But if it doesn't, just maybe not. Maybe not for right now. Maybe only give yourself 30 minutes every other day to get really filled in with things, and that's okay. That's still enough. Just checking in every other day, you can still get a lot of the important information. You just don't have to steep in it like a lot of us are kind of seeing every time opening up a lot of these social feeds. You get really sucked into the energy that someone else is putting out. As priestesses, as mostly women, I think, who are watching this, people who are holding a high vibration for the planet right now, it is part of our responsibility to stay really focused on what it is, what our dharma is. And I'm very much want us all to be activists, to be involved in sacred activism in the way that feels right for us. But that does not mean you need to stay fully invested in your social media feeds or even mainstream news. You can still be a very informed person with not quite as much time spent online. So a wonderful resource that I found today to help me with this, I think it's called dailyaction.org, which will send you a text message every morning with kind of a summary of here's what's going on, here's the senator, here's the representatives that you can call in your zip code to make these changes, and it gives it all at once. And then I can have my moment during the day where I'm being a responsible citizen and the insane political climate that we're in, and then I can move on, and then I don't need to get information from Facebook or wherever else. Don't have to do that. So that's something that I would really recommend if you're feeling really overwhelmed. So and this is why I mentioned last week in our call that community, what we want is simple, not always easy. We want a genuine partnership with our sisters. We don't really want, or at least I am moving away from like the easy click. There's nothing wrong with these, but some, Facebook groups that I'm seeing that have like 20,000 plus women in them, and you kind of put something out there and I don't know, just kind of like goes into the ether. What I want to, and that's good too. There's nothing wrong with these things. I'm not trying to say there's a right and a wrong. I'm just trying to bring it back in to the things that are truly nourishing and truly helping us be powerful alchemists in our life. And a lot of that means getting back rooted into true community. So thank you, dailyaction.org info. That's awesome. Yeah, it's too draining to watch the news. Don't watch the news. Please don't watch the news. It's bad. So any way that you can, and I'm going to stand by that. I just, like, you should be informed, but that does not mean you need to watch mainstream media. So there's other ways at this point where to get really good information and to have really high quality conversations. I'm just going to say, I know there's going to be people who disagree with that, but I think watching mainstream media is an absolute hazard to your health. So don't do it. Okay, other things. Okay, so this may mean with these kinds of decisions, I get it. I get that this, if you really want to commit yourself to really staying centered here, staying centered on where you're being of service, and you can't be of service if you're completely drained by the events going on, right? So we have to nourish ourselves first. I have to set aside time for self-care and for off-screen time to prepare for these meetings. Otherwise, I can't show up. So what kind of boundaries do you need to be setting so that you can thrive personally and spiritually, if any, right now? Maybe all of you have this set up really well, but if it means that there's still some people in your everyday life who are really draining you with their conversation about the current events going on in the world, and they aren't really contributing, they're just kind of sucking from you, then maybe that's an invitation from your guidance to set some boundaries, create a container for yourself that feels really good for most of the day. So that might mean just having a conversation with someone and lovingly excusing yourself and just telling them, I'm pulling away from the drama and these shock initiatives that are being rolled out by the current administration. So I really need more peace in my day-to-day life, and this is how you could help me do that. Could we talk about your children? Could we talk about what are you cooking for dinner? Like, let's have some like conversations that are a little more simple. Again, there's a balance here, right? Because this doesn't mean that I'm not trying to say we need to shut our eyes to what's going on. I'm saying that there does need to be a balance, though. We shouldn't be all consumed by what's going on. There's a time for it. There's a place for it. There are ways to vote and be actionable with our money and with our platforms that we have on social media. But there's also a shift happening on the planet where we are also being called to create our own heaven on earth. And that requires a lot of connection to our heart. So I hope that is, I hope that that's giving a little bit of permission in case any of that was needed tonight. And to stick to what really works for you right now and what boundaries you need to set for that are all completely fine. Yeah. And also show up to the marches, show up to the, like I'll be right there with you, but we do need, like, it's okay to have balance. Okay. It's okay to have balance. It's okay to go see La La Land in the theaters, like go have a girls' night. Like, it's okay to still do those things, even with what's going on in the world right now. It's really important to find that balance and to keep it. So this is really beautiful. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. And so Archangel Jeremiah came to me with Mary Magdalene. It was both of their energies coming forward for this call. And they wanted to remind me of the time that Mary Magdalene spent after the crucifixion of her twin flame Jesus in the caves of France. And it was so special for this sharing to come through, because it really helped me put my life in perspective. Because in the darkest time of her life, um, she would open the Akashic records with Archangel Jeremiah, because he oversees the Akashic records. As I mentioned earlier, he's the one you kind of commune with after this incarnation. You look back on things and talk. And he would be right there with her, counseling her as she was at this turning point where she had dedicated so much of herself to public service. And now she was literally had to flee for her life, was hiding out, working with the energies of Kali Ma, and really rebirthing herself as a woman. You know, what is she going to do next? And the humanity that's in that, the humanness that was in that, as they were sharing this story with me, it just is such a timeless experience, and something that I could relate to so intimately, of these moments where we need to do a life review. We need to, you know, like, for a moment, let's put ourselves in the human experience of Mary Magdalene. She watched her twin flame, who was carrying probably, I would assume, one of the highest frequencies of anyone on the planet. She watched him be murdered, and she knew it's how it needed to be, but she knew that for a while. She knew that that's what was coming, but the actual moment of that happening is horrifying, and it's really dark. And on top of that, she knew that her teachings would go on to be misinterpreted, and that it would be thousands of years until women like us started to activate our DNA and our remembering of her mighty Sophia Christ consciousness presence on the planet. So that's a dark time. That's a really dark time for a woman. And as I was going through my darkness and that trauma and preparing for this, she just came in to kind of say, I've been there. I've been in dark moments. And she just stepped forward, I think, to remind all of us that this is a very natural process in our ascension journey. There does not need to be judgment when doing these life reviews and when doing this work that I talked about earlier. There does not need to be judgment, is what she was guiding me to say in this meeting tonight. But asking ourselves the right questions and then answering them compassionately and honestly with ourselves. And as she is showing me, she actually says to question everything. So question everything. Connect your innocence and ask, but why? In every simple or easy action of your day. And if you don't like the answer, then it's time for a review. So that is her advice when doing these life reviews, is that we can get serious about it. Get a big piece of paper like the one behind me. And I wrote out what Archangel Jeremiah, his advice on how to host a life review here. So my notes for this meeting, but right before we started, I wanted to draw like a visual for you guys to see what his advice was. And I'm just gonna put out a call because we're getting towards the end of the call. So if you do have questions, please feel free to ask those now, or anything else that you'd like to discuss in the questions now. Before I get into sharing this, because after this I'm going to kind of wrap things up. So this is what it looked like a little bit. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to read this with the camera, but on one side you write down, what am I doing? And as Mary Magdalene said, get really specific, every single thing that you're doing. Oh, you can read it? Okay, good. So So on one side, what am I doing? On the other side, where do I want to be? And get really quiet for that. Yeah, first time ever, it's in the right direction. Great. This is such a beautiful exercise to come back to time and time again. What am I doing? Where do I want to be? Write down, don't connect them yet. But you write down in one column, okay, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis? Where do I want to be? Where does my future self live? And how does she live her life? And then you write those down. And then where are the things that align? And those are the things to be focusing on. So this, how to do a life review, is really that simple. But the things that you're looking for are the actions that align, for the feelings, the feeling states that align, the self-care that aligns for this magnificent future self, glorious modern priestess woman to be doing her work. She needs self-care and time for that. So so it's really that simple, but it does take a little bit of time to sit down and be compassionately honest about that. So so that was really Archangel Jeremiel. It's a very simple process. It's just about having the quiet time to get really still and to think about any difficulties that you're experiencing them and how they can be overcome. He also is such a messenger, always the message of the worst is behind you. The worst is behind you. It's going up from here. And that was so much of the reminder that he was giving me this week as I was preparing for this meeting and going through a really tender time. Oh, you meant the camera. That's funny, Jenny. Okay, so that was a lot of what was prepared this evening. Let me just look over my notes and see if there was anything else. He just also wanted me to say that if you are doing any past life work or dipping into the Akashic records, he's always willing to be of assistance, since that's an area of his specialty. So he said to please call on him if you want to open the Akashic records. That's definitely something that he is attuned to and has some experience with. And to invoke him as you're doing these life reviews, because he's such a wonderful presence of a counselor to have. So if you haven't worked with him before and you're sitting down to do even like desire mapping or planning with just getting clarity, he's a wonderful person to come through and remind you that everything's just as it should be. You're perfect right where you are. Very calming presence to have as you're working through what can feel like a light worker with a lot of urgency. He can help with that a little bit. He can make that, he can ease some of that fire that comes up as we work on that. So oh, thanks. Wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would love for you, if you're watching this on Crowdcast, please feel free to share the replay. It'll be at the same exact link, so you can just grab the link and share it. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love to hear your comments, or please subscribe. I'm trying to think what else we have coming up. We will again have another Monday night meeting a week from tonight at 8 p.m. Central. Again, these are all, at least right now, going to be held on Crowdcast. There's a few other things in the works right now that I'm not quite ready to announce, but let's see. No, I think just join me again next week. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope to see you next week. You can actually register for that we're going to be working with Isis next week. She's going to be talking about her Magi teachings. I'm very excited to dig into that and see what she has to share. So thank you all very much, and I will see you next week.